Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Not going to be long. Look, you've heard me say this a million times. If you don't have at least two independent streams of income through which you hedge your primary source of income to protect you against catastrophic loss in that area, you are missing an opportunity to ensure your long-term financial security. I have created the 7-day online business launch course, which is a formula I use to reestablish myself online. It works over and over again. I've used it over and over again. Now I'm challenging you to take advantage of it. Click the link, learn more about it, enroll, and let's get started. Well, hello, everybody. It's been a crazy morning for me, so I'm a little late getting into you guys. I hope everybody's doing okay. This is another segment of Focus Friday, brought to you by the 7-day online business launch course. Let's get to it. When I am asked about the things that cause people to balk, things that shut people down, things that paralyze people, things that keep people from making the moves that are necessary for them to achieve the things that they say they want in life, despite saying they want it, despite the discomfort, despite of not having it, despite the frustration of not having achieved it, but knowing that it's there. What are the things that shut down? And at the top of the list is limiting beliefs. The idea that I can't do something because I'm too old, because I'm not smart enough, because I'm not strong enough, because I don't know everything, because I don't know the right people, because I come from this background, because this has always been this way, because this many businesses fail in the first year, because, and it's on and on and on, these limiting beliefs that lock you into an idea of who you are in this world. And it convinces you that life is happening to you instead of life is responding to you. That, in other words, that there's something on the inside of you that you can literally activate that will push you towards your goals, your visions, your destiny. And back in 2015, I created the back then it was called Crushing Limiting Beliefs, and now it's Conquering Limiting Beliefs course. It's a 15-module course, and I created it to help people develop the capacity to conquer the limiting beliefs. I'm going to tell you something. You're never going to achieve anything beyond what you believe is possible. You will never achieve anything beyond your level of expectation. Whatever it is that you are expecting from life is what you're going to ultimately get. You never are going to consistently achieve and attain and experience things above what you expect. God is going to meet you at the level of your expectations. Life is going to meet you at the level of your expectations. The universe is going to meet you at your level of expectations. Whatever you demand on life by way of expectation is what you're going to get. So if you don't develop the capacity to demand more by expecting more, by doing more, by pushing for more, and here's the problem though. No one is going to do anything that they don't. Nobody's going to actively and aggressively pursue something that they don't believe is possible. So then your beliefs become the paradigms that shape your behavior, that shape your perception, that shape the way that you move and or the lack thereof. You're paralyzed because you believe you're not smart enough. You're paralyzed because you believe that poverty is your lot in life. You're paralyzed because no one else in your family has ever done it before. You're paralyzed because you believe you have to have XYZ in order to even get started. You're paralyzed because you know that it's going to take work and you don't believe that you have what it takes for whatever reason. There are all these things that you were told growing up. There were all these things that you observed growing up. There were all these things that you experienced growing up that shaped your paradigms, that set these limiting beliefs. The problem were you were looking at life through a very narrow lens. You were experiencing life based on the environment you're around, but that does not in any way constitute the total possibilities of life. The possibilities of life are limitless. The problem is your thoughts and your beliefs are limited. And the only beliefs that the only limits that you have are the ones you accept. People say that's a little drastic. That's a little no, I'm not exaggerating. I'm being honest with you. You just have to be able to get by it. And the thing is, we're so heavily anchored in limiting beliefs that the idea that there isn't anything impossible simply does not register with us. And we all struggle with it. We all have things that we believe can't happen, and it's different levels. One of the things that people immediately talk about is you can't overcome the law of gravity. It's a universal law. No, it's not a universal law. It's a law of physics. And if you understand physics, you also have to understand that there's this thing called metaphysics. There's also this thing called quantum physics. There are some things that'll tell you that far beyond what you can imagine, things have happened. There was a belief at one point in time that it was impossible for men to be able to create anything that will allow them to fly like birds fly. And now we jump on planes without a second thought. Everybody that it was anywhere close to Wilbur and Orville Wright thought they had lost their freaking minds. Everybody thought Alexander Graham Bell was on some something. When he starts talking about, I'm going to create something where you can literally pick it up. It's going to be plugged into the wall. It's going to be hooked up to other wires, but you're going to be able to talk to people in a different city. Okay. You know, and you got to think before that, there was the telegram where you can literally put these wires and you can tap these messages across and somebody will have to decipher it and interpret the messages and write it down. But then Alexander said, no, I'm going to ask you, you're going to pick it up. You're going to talk and I'm going to hear it. And they're like, you're crazy. It's impossible. Then somebody said, hey, what Alexander did was cool. But you know what? We don't even need the wires. We're going to send it through the airwaves. We're going to use cellular signals. We're going to use satellite signals, and we're going to do it that way. Now you crazy. Man, we're going to create things where we can literally get on our phones and get on computer screens and literally talk to people around the world. You're out of your freaking mind. Look, there was a time that it was believed that you couldn't run the mile in under 4 minutes. Roger Bannister did it. And here's the crazy thing. After Roger Bannister did it, after years of believing it was literally physically impossible to run the mile in under 4 minutes, when he did it, everybody was asking him, how did he train for it? What did he do? He said, I simply ran it 1,000 miles. I literally ran it 1,000 times in my mind. I literally told myself by way of imagination that I had already did it. And God designed that beautiful brain of ours to literally be able to not be able to distinguish between what's being imagined and what's real. And so you can literally create realities in your mind. You can pursue those things. And if I can conceive it in my mind, it's God's evidence that it's possible. The problem is you have these limiting beliefs that are anchoring you to an old belief that doesn't matter. So what do you need to do? You need to replace the belief. You need to take that belief out of its position of power in your life, in your thinking, in your thoughts, in your expectations, in your faith capacity. And you need to replace it with an idea that says, I can. It was first Socrates and then Henry Ford that Henry Ford, I guess, was quoting Socrates, who says, he who believes he can and who believes he can are usually both right. It's a bunch of things that you're literally living right now in this time, in this place that was once considered impossible. And the people who dreamed it up were considered crazy. So don't tell me what can't happen. Tell me what you want to happen, and then start to make your mind believe that it can happen, and then you pursue it. Well, Doc, why is it that it's so hard? Because it's anchored. Your beliefs are what create your paradigms. Your paradigms are the lens through which you view life. It's literally how you see the world around you. If your paradigm says that you are not that smart, then everything you approach that you perceive to require a certain level of intellect, you're going to balk on it because you already bought the idea whether what your second grade teacher told you about what your mental capacity was true. You never ever explore the idea that maybe I just think different. Maybe my mind works a little different than the average person. Maybe I wasn't made to think that way. Maybe I didn't need to operate under a universal or a standardized version of learning. Maybe my mind works different. And because my mind works different, I was meant to do things differently. And it's in the uniqueness of this difference that I'm going to do something exceptional, that I'm going to do something extraordinary, that I'm going to do something phenomenal. It's in not being like everybody else that I find my real true gifting. See, you can do anything you set your mind to. Now, it's not magic. You don't just go out and speak it and jump into it and it happens. You've got to believe it enough that you start to move toward it, that you start to transform into it. Because think about this. It's not what you want that you get. It's what you become that you produce. See, everybody's talking about getting something. And then when they can't get it, they say it's not meant for me. They run back to the default of it's not God's will. No, it's not, because you haven't made it your distinct desire enough to move on it. You haven't made it so necessary that you won't let it go. You haven't made it such a requirement that you can't shake free of it. So whenever you see it and it becomes a little flabbergasting or a little frustrating when you're trying to process how it's going to be done, you just set it down. But let me explain something to you. It's important that you understand. It's important that you hear what I'm saying right now. If you've never done something before and you make up in your mind that you're going to do it, as my colleague Les Brown says, that when you're doing that, how you're going to do it is none of your business. See, so many people, when they decide they want to do something that they've never done before, the first thing they start asking themselves is how they're going to do it. And they get frustrated when they can't figure it out. Well, let me tell you something. If you've never done something, if you've never done something before, the chance of you knowing how to do it is probably not that. You're going to have to learn it. You're going to have to develop. You're going to have to search it out. You're going to have to discover. That's the part of growth. You're discovering something new. You're developing something new. You're building something new. You're gaining some understanding about something different. And as you do it, you develop the capacity to create it in your life. You're creating the life that you live, first and foremost, starting with your thinking. And if those thoughts are limited, your capacity to perform and produce is going to be limited. You're going to have to make up in your mind that you're going to shift. You're going to have to make up in your mind that you're going to do something different. The first thing is to discover the limiting thoughts in your mind. What are the limiting thoughts that are limiting you? Is it that you think you're too old? Is it that you think you're too young? Is it that you don't think you're smart enough? Is it that you don't think that you have the resources? Is it that you think because of a certain thing, your gender, your race, your religion, your sexual preference, that all of a sudden it's not available to you? Is it something in your childhood that says because of this, and this, I'll never be able to do that? You're going to have to put down what they told you because they didn't understand the gift in the inside of you. They didn't understand the capacity of your mind to sit up and manifest that thing that it believes and it thinks. They didn't understand it. They were acting on their limitations and they impressed their limitations on you. And they did it so frequently, so often, and so convincingly from a position of authority that you believed it had to be true. If Mama is saying it, it got to be true. If Miss Johnson is saying it, it got to be true. If Principal Richardson is saying it, it's got to be true. But the truth of the matter is, God gave you a gift that not even they could interpret. That God gave you a vision that not even they can validate. You got to understand something. There's something on the inside of you waiting to come out, and it's not mediocre. It's not average. There's something on the inside of you waiting to come out, and it's powerful. It's phenomenal. It's extraordinary, but you're going to have to believe it. You have to shake free of the limiting beliefs. You weren't put here to be small. You weren't sit here to have your goals and your desires and your aspirations shrink and to entertain colorless dreams. You were here to write down a vision, make it plain, and then pursue it. But somewhere along the way, you picked up some ideas about yourself, about this world, about this life, and you bought into the idea that there were certain things that were simply going to be your lot in life. You let somebody else write your narrative. One thing that I do with my clients is I teach them how to write a new story. See, they're living by a story somebody else started, and they felt obligated to keep the storyline going. I'm poor. I don't know how to do this. I am never going to be a business owner. I am never going to get my degree. I am never going to manage finances well because I am a part of the story they started. But see, that's the beautiful things. See, one of the things I tell people all the time, it's time for you to take the pen back. It's time for you to start writing the narrative of your story. It's time for you to start writing a new ending. It's time for you to start writing new fillers. It's time for you to start setting the stage of what you're going to accomplish in your life. And you don't need anybody's validation or approval. God planted it in your gift. But you got to let go of the limiting beliefs. When I created this course, it was because I was running into so many people that literally were buying the lies they had been told about themselves. They were giving up on visions of owning their own company. They were giving up on visions of writing books. They were giving up on visions of starting careers in different industries that they had so much passion about. They were buying into the idea that they would never experience love. They were buying into so many things that locked them into a place of misery, that they had started accepting misery as their lot in life. They had started accepting the idea that I'm just here to exist. I'm just here to survive. I'm just trying to make it into the point of they stopped even focusing on life. It all became about the afterlife. It all became about him. It's nothing wrong with chasing heaven, but you better be doing some things on the way, because here's the thing: no matter how you see God, no matter how you connect to God, no matter what do you think about God, I'm not here to tell you that. But what I'm telling you is there's a designer that gave you a purpose, that made you the way you are, and set you in a world that's so dynamically ordered that there are over 100 things that if one slightly changed, the entire world would end. But it's been going for billions of years. I'm trying to get you to understand something, that when you get to this afterlife that you chasing, because life itself is just horrible. I'm just trying to make it to heaven. So you think that there's just this place where you're going to spend 80, 90, 100 years, that you're just here so you can get there? No, there's a point and a meaning, because you're not just here for your 100 years. You're here to write a legacy that you leave behind, that people who come long after you're gone are experiencing the benefits you created by being the blessing that God designed you to be. We are missing it because we've been trained, and some of it is because of our history, especially those of our persuasion, of our history, because see, all we were told is you're going to get yours when you get to heaven. But right now you're in hell. You're going to pick that cotton. You're going to toil that soil. But when you get to heaven, you're going to get your blessing. And so we start seeing everything about the afterlife and didn't realize that a great part of what we are going to experience in the afterlife in the way of reward and joy is going to be based off of what we do here. See, I'm not here just to exist. There's something I'm here to do that's going to be so extraordinary, so emphatic, that after I leave, people will still be talking about the work I've done. I'm here to create a legacy that lifts people who follow me. And that's what you're supposed to be doing. Whether it's creating a cell phone, whether it's creating an airplane, whether it's sitting up and running something and challenging the law of physics and the law of physiology, whether it's sitting up and being the first person that gets a degree in your family, whether it's being the first person who starts a company in your family, whether it's being the first millionaire in your family, you were set here to break down barriers, not be shut down by them. Those limiting beliefs are barriers in your life. It's your responsibility to stand up and attack them. It's your responsibility to start believing enough in yourself. I am sick and tired of hearing people talk about faith and then bowing down to circumstances. Let me say that again. I'm sick and tired of hearing people talk about their faith and then bow down to circumstances. Faith transcends facts. Faith sits up and says, I see what's going on, but my God, my purpose, my vision is bigger than that circumstance. It's bigger than what I'm facing. There's something about me that God placed me here for, and it can't be shut down by circumstances. I was born into poverty, but I'm not going to remain poor. I was born into a family where there was no advancement in education, but I'm not going to be stuck with less than a high school diploma. I came out of a house with a father with a second grade education and a mother with an 11th grade education, but that's not going to be where I stopped. I came from a place where the goal was simply to get a better job than mama and daddy got, but I wasn't going to stop. You've got a responsibility to the designer to live at the level of your design, not to shrink back because of the fear of failure or the fear of not being able to follow through. You are going to be able to do more than you ever imagined. It's not going to be easy. I'm telling you firsthand. I didn't come to tell you about ease. You're going to have to find that somewhere else. I came to tell you about reward. I came to tell you about what's possible when you decide to stand up and go after something with an unrelenting force that will not quit, that will not give up. People who hear me speak more than once know when I get ready to walk towards that stage and I'm walking to pick up that mic, I can hear them going, no surrender, no retreat. Why? Because that's my mantra. I'm not quitting. Oh, it's not easy. Again, I'm not quitting because I got turned down. I'm not quitting because I didn't hit my goal. I'm not quitting because I experienced failure. Failure is a part of growth. Failure is a part of the success equation. You're not going to achieve anything worth having without experiencing failure. That's not what's going to judge where I'm going. What's going is God put this thing inside of me that I understand that if I am connected to a benevolent God, what does that mean? That means that if I can conceive it in my mind, if God gave me the capacity to conceive something in my mind and God is benevolent, God has made that be the evidence that it's possible. God wouldn't give me the capacity to see something that I could never have. That would be torture. That would be evil. That would be dark. That's not the God I see. That's not how I envision. That's not how I experience God. The God I experience put me here to do something exceptional. And it tells me that if I can see it in my mind, that's evidence from God that I can do it. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Not trying to find easy. What I'm trying to do is make this world shake. I'm trying to sit up and make an imprint on this world that they'll never forget that I was here. Not because it's an ego stroke, but because I've got to go to this afterlife that everybody's chasing and report back to the designer about what I did with the design. I'm not going to report back and say, I know I should have did this, but I was scared. I know people that I'm not going back and saying, well, I probably could have wrote a book or two, but I was worried about what people would think. I was worried about maybe they wouldn't sell. I probably could have started a business and inspired my children to be entrepreneurs and the people around me, but I was worried about failing and people laughing at me. I'm not going to report that. I'm going to sit up and say, I showed up. I answered the bell. I gave it everything I had. I died on E. I believed in my purpose. I believed in my gift. I believed in the passion that was planted in me to the point that I would not shut down. I would not give up. You're going to have to break those limiting beliefs. You're going to have to get them behind them. You're going to have to make up in your mind that there's something bigger than what you're seeing right now. You're going to have to learn how to replace the negative stuff with the positive stuff. You're going to have to learn how to speak things that are not as though they are. There's a part that I love, and I just love it. It says, you shall declare a thing and it shall be established. You don't know that the moment that there's power, there's the power of life and death in the tongue. It tells you that, but when you're speaking, what are you speaking? What are you saying? When you say, I can't, you can't. It's that simple. When you keep saying, I wish I could, but I can't. When you keep inferring that you can't, you don't even have to say, I can't. When you say, well, I wish I could, you're saying, I can't. Be careful of what you're speaking. Be careful what you're thinking, because you're setting the paradigms and the boundaries and the parameters of what you're going to do in this life. How are you talking to yourself? Are you still repeating the narrative of something somebody else gave you when you were a child? Let it go. Let it go. There's so much more God has in store for you than whatever you were born into. There's so much you're going to want and be able to have. But here's the thing. One of the things I had to learn is, in order to take hold of everything that's in front of me, some of the things behind me, I've got to let go of. And at a certain point, I've got to let it all go. I've got to place it down and trust that it'll speak for me. Because even the good things, if you hold on for them too long, you can't move forward because you're still hanging on. Take it, revel in it, celebrate it, understand it, then place it on the mantle as a part of the testimony of what you've been able to do in this world. But you got to let it go, because you got to take a hold of what's in front of you. I was born to a 15-year-old mother and a 21-year-old absent father that the first time I saw him was in his casket. I could have easily stood up and said, I'm just doomed. Statistics say I wasn't supposed to make it. Statistics said that I would have been in and out of prison my whole life or dead before the age of 18. Statistics didn't write my narrative. God gave me the pen. He gave me the gift. And I chose to break out of the mold. You've got to do the same thing. Oh, you've got to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to start doing something. Let me tell you something. I have, as a psychologist, a mental behavioral specialist, I've been called in to talk to people. Also, as a former member of the clergy, I've been called in to speak with people, share with people, counsel with people when they're close to the end, and pray with people when they're close to the end. And there are three primary types of people who know that they're coming to their end, whether it be because of terminal illness or something, just in age, they had a bad thing happen, or they catastrophic accident, and the doctor said there's nothing we can do. And I go in, and even if they can't speak, their eyes talk. And there are three types of people. There's the indifferent person who's just so lost in their world that they didn't even realize why they were here, and they're just there. It's an emptiness. Then there's the person that came and gave this world everything it had plus some. And you can look at them and they're ready to walk into whatever this next thing is, because they came, they saw, and they conquered. They lived a life on full and they died on E. And when you look at them, there's not fear, there's not trepidation, there's a level of fulfillment. I did everything I could here. I'm done. I watched my father with that look in his eye. I gave it everything I had, son. Here's the mantle. But then there's the other one. They know they didn't give it their all. They know they are taking a lot of their potential to the grave with them. They know there were books they were supposed to read. There were messages they were supposed to deliver. There were people they were supposed to speak to. There were companies they were supposed to start. There was inventions they were supposed to create. And they're taking them to the grave because they took the safe route. You know what's in their eyes? Absolute horror. Because now they're wondering, what's next? I didn't do what you gave me to do. I got an answer for that. More importantly, what did I leave behind for those that I created? My progeny were expecting and needing me to do something that elevated them. They shouldn't be starting where I started or worse. What did I leave behind? You've heard me say this often before, that the first part of my life, the first was about me. It was about me proving that I had came out of what I was born into. It was me proving I had made it. It was what I was driving, where I was living, where I was flying to. It was about all that. I'm going to have it all. I'm going to have it all. And I'm in my early 30s. And for a person in their early 30s, I've done more than the average person will ever do in their life at 32, 33. But I'm sitting there and I'm up in this house, this big house. Nobody but me and my kids. I was a single father at the time. And I'm up and I'm walking in this big house, out the master suite, down the atrium, to the kitchen, around the kitchen and back, looking out the front of the house, because most of it was glass, looking at the front of the house, into the street, back in the room, trying to lay down, trying to go to sleep. It's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, every freaking night. And I couldn't get it. I got all the stuff that I said I wanted. People are looking at me and saying, I wish. And I'm miserable. And I can't figure it out. I'm empty and I can't figure it out. I called my mentor and my mentor said, son, I can already tell you what it is. You tried to fill a void with things that was meant to be filled with purpose. You're not walking in your purpose. And from that point on, it became about my legacy. It stopped being about me, and it started being about what I was going to leave. And I'm telling you, I haven't stopped, and I'm not even close to being done. You got to walk in your purpose. You got to set down all that stuff that's hindering you. You got to lay every weight aside that's shutting you down and hindering you. You got to get rid of those limiting beliefs. Look, I'm going to get ready to get off here. I put the links to two different versions of my course, Conquering Limiting Beliefs. There is the self-paced version, which you will do online. It's several hours of video instruction. There's a module and a handout and a worksheet for 15 modules on breaking away from limiting beliefs. It's a course that literally lit up the world. When I actually licensed this when I first made it. I licensed it to an institute because they could distribute it better than I could, and the money I needed. But then when the license expired, I took it back because I wanted to be able to give it to people who couldn't afford what they were charging. So the first version is self-paced. The second version costs a little more, but it's a done with you version. That means you're not just going to take the course. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to answer those little questions. And even the person that takes the basic, you'll still have my email address. You'll still be able to email me and I will respond. But you're going to have to systematically replace those limiting beliefs with beliefs that take down the walls and the barriers and unleash your mind to come up with unbelievable ideas that totally change the world that you live in and the world of the people you love. That's where it starts. Change your life, then change the life of the people you love. Then start to let that play out in the world around you. You'll be surprised at the impact you make before you leave here. But don't get to that point where someone like me is walking in your room and you've got this look of terror in your eyes because you decided to sit on the gift, because you decided to believe a lie somebody told you a long time ago, not because they were trying to hurt you. Most of the times they probably was trying to protect you because they didn't want you to walk out there and get disappointed, and because they had never been able to see it. And one things I will never do, not only to my kids, but I will never do it to anybody. I don't care how they look, what they come from. If they come up to me, they can sit up and say they're creating something that I ain't never heard before, gonna do something I ain't never thought of before. I'm gonna sit up and say, hey, let's figure it out. I'm never gonna crush somebody's vision because I have to answer to God for that too. But this is the challenge. Look, if you want to change your life, it's going to require you being invested in changing it. Hoping and wishing is not a strategy. It's not a plan. You're going to have to sit up and say, what am I going to do next? How does that look? What steps am I going to take? I've laid it out for you step by step. The entire psychological process of shifting a paradigm in order to create an entire process where the mind becomes unleashed. There's nothing more powerful in this universe than an unleashed mind. Everything comes from it. The very source and the nature of God at its purest point is consciousness. It's the purest form of his expression, consciousness. And you have access to it all. It's everywhere. But you've got to be willing to open up your mind to receive it. That's where the visions and dreams come in. There's so much power that you haven't tapped into because you've bought into the parameters of limitations given to you by people in this world. And you've bought into the idea that this little small space that I'm operating in is all I'll ever have. And the truth of the matter is, you write the narrative. Pick up that pen and write a new story. Write one where you're the victor and not the victim. Write one where you walk out of poverty into magnificent wealth. Write one where you are no longer oppressed, but you are powerful. You get to write that. And nobody can take the pen but you can give it away. Stop giving your pen to other people. Look, on that note, look, I'm gonna get out of here. I hope that some of you will take advantage of this opportunity. And for the ones that decide to go with the done with you version, I'm looking forward to working with you. One of the things I get excited about is watching people come to a point where they realize what they thought was impossible is possible. The look in the eyes of people who sit up and always thought, this is all I'm going to ever do. This is all I'm ever going to be. And then to watch them say, man, look at what I'm doing. I've got a cat living in freaking Dominican Republic right now, is diagnosed with Asperger's. He's on the spectrum. When he came to me, he had this unbelievable vision about starting an international company. Again, he's on the spectrum. I said, man, yes, you can do it. Had to learn how to interact. Taught him helped him develop some social skills, which are some of the things, and then showed him how to get things done in areas where he don't focus. Asperger's people focus real acutely in one space, and they are exceptional in that space that they focus in, but they will completely go oblivious to a lot of stuff around them. I showed him how to do that. This dude built a team. He's living in the Dominican, and hitting me up talking about, you need to come live down here. But imagine what he can. It was just like, hey, I'm going to go talk to this guy. He sounds like he can tell me. And I told him, yeah, I believe you. But the thing is, I really actually believe that even if I would have said, man, you crazy, he had it in his mind he was going to do it. Once you get that, nobody can stop you. So on that note, look, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I really thank you guys for lending me your time. Have a blessed weekend. Love yourself enough to be the best version of yourself. Have enough faith to execute the impossible. Let your faith speak for you through your actions. James said, you say you have faith without works. I'll show you my faith by my works. That's what I leave you with. As I always say, I live my life on full, so that when I leave this place, I die on E. That's my challenge to you. You guys have an unbelievable remainder of your day. I'm out. Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Not going to be long. Look. You've heard me say this a million times. If you don't have at least 2 independent streams of income through which you hedge your primary source of income to protect you against catastrophic loss in that area, you are missing an opportunity to ensure your long-term financial security. I have created the 7-day online business launch course, which is a formula I use to reestablish myself online. It works over and over again. I've used it over and over again. Now I'm challenging you to take advantage of it. Click the link, learn more about it, enroll, and let's get started.